Hey everyone, how's it going? So first of all, Happy New Year's to all of you guys. I guess depending on when you're watching this. This is going up on New Year's Eve, so if you're seeing this then I mean whatever, same shit. Happy New Year's, but this is my top 10 worst episodes of The Walking Dead. It was actually pretty hard making this list because I had to rewatch all the episodes, obviously, to make sure that they would fit on this list. I also watched some of the episodes that I figured would be on here, but actually turns out no, they don't deserve to be on here. This one was a lot harder to do because some episodes, I mean, they were kind of pointless, but they needed to happen and there was no other way to do it. So it was kind of a sacrifice. You had to have that down moment in the season, but some episodes are just literally pointless and do really, really dumb things that really hurt the series, really frustrated fans, and really just, yeah, that's why they're on my top 10 worst list. Because the thing is, you have to take a lot of things into consideration too. Like, how much does the episode really service the whole season, like I said? How close is it to filler? Was it filler? Was there really bad acting? And just etc. Like a lot of stuff like that. Clunky dialogue and just really bad CGI. And yeah, of course, as with my other top 10 video, this is all my opinion. This obviously isn't any official Walking Dead top 10 worst list. I'm sure there are sites out there where you can vote on that to determine all of that. This is just my list that I spent the last 2 weeks working on. So with that, I do want to get started. If you haven't seen it yet, I just posted my top 10 best episodes of The Walking Dead. That was a lot easier to do since I've already known for so long what my favorites were. Yes, I didn't include No Way Out, and a lot of people are pointing that out, but it's because it's not really my favorite. I mean, it's up there kind of, I guess. I don't know, I get it, it's exciting. But when I originally watched it, it was kind of like, okay, cool, yeah, it was really awesome, but I was still pissed off about the cliffhanger from the mid-season finale because I wanted this to happen in the mid-season finale, and we didn't get that. I mean, I'm sure I'm in the minority for this. I know for a fact that I am. It's kind of how I feel. I feel that the episode is way overhyped, but maybe not. Maybe looking back at it now, since obviously the whole cliffhanger frustration and all that, I don't hold that resentment there anymore. Maybe actually rewatching it, I probably would enjoy it a lot more. And I'm not saying it's a bad episode. It really, really isn't. It is a good episode. It's just it didn't make my top 10. Anyways, let's get into my top 10 worst episodes. So make sure you guys post your top 10 down below as well after the video. And yeah, let's just see how close it is to mine.
Number 10.
So number 10 is The Last Day on Earth. And it had to be on this list. It's not the worst episode of all time, obviously, because it's number 10. Like, this episode, for the most part, is actually really good. And I mean really good. But you can't ignore the cliffhanger. You just can't. And I spent a lot of time debating whether or not I should just ignore it because the rest of the episode was actually really, really good. But you just can't. You can't just ignore this cliffhanger because it affects the rewatchability of this episode. It really does. You can't just ignore it because it's just like a tiny part of the episode because it's the ending of it. This episode from the start was really fantastic, really thrilling, very, very terrifying, but the cliffhanger was just a slap in the face and it made no sense. I don't understand why they couldn't just kill Glenn off there, or even if they were originally deciding to do 2 deaths, just do it in that episode. But no, they chose not to do that, and it is a part of this episode. You can't ignore the cliffhanger. Season 6's story overall was building to this moment. I can't remember exactly when they announced Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Negan, but it was at some point in that season, much earlier in the season, and it was just really, really exciting. I was really looking forward to this moment, and then that happened, which just really, really pissed me off. It's the reason why I can't rewatch this episode. It's really hard because you really get into it. You're like, wow, Rick is really terrifying. The saviors are just, I mean, they're terrifying. They have this whole thing worked out. They're unstoppable. We can't escape them. But then that ending happens and just, it really is for nothing. It's always going to be there when you rewatch this episode. It's always in the back of your mind. And yeah, it kind of makes the build up throughout this episode meaningless.
Number 9.
Now, this episode I was really, really torn on because there's an element to it that I do really like, and that is, of course, the governor. David Morrissey's performance here is just really, really amazing. If you're a fan of the governor, you might actually really like these episodes. If you wanted a governor spinoff, this was it. Sadly, I think the pacing of the season and where this episode was positioned just didn't do it for me. We were introduced to new characters like Tara and so forth, and I mean, from the very, very exciting pacing of the first 5 episodes of the season, I don't know, it was a bump in the road. I actually would include episode 7 too with this. I would include both of those episodes because that was also another governor episode, and I just don't think we needed 2 of them. And not even that, I don't even think we needed these episodes specifically. The governor could have shown up randomly and it would have been fine. Maybe we get like a 5 or 10 minute scene of what he's been up to. Maybe the timeline was different and we see what's happening to him in the present timeline, and then it kind of cuts back to the past. I don't know. All I know is that when this episode first aired, I was very, very annoyed with it. I just wanted to get to the prison storyline and see what happened to Herschel and Michonne. And then after episode 6 aired, we had episode 7, which was obviously another governor episode. I don't think we needed 2 spin-off episodes on all of this. It hurt the pacing really bad. If it was all one episode, sure, maybe it wouldn't have been that bad. It actually might have been really good if you think about it. If the episode started off with the governor all like long hair, beard and stuff, and then it ends with him taking Michonne and Herschel, maybe that could have worked because you would have condensed all of it and got rid of a lot of the meaningless stuff. But obviously that didn't happen, and that's why it's number 9.
Number 8.
So this is my first episode from season 7. There's going to be quite a few on this list. I'm just warning you. I promise that I didn't seek this season out. I actually went through the entire series and wrote down like top 30, I think it was like 30, 35 or something like that, episodes that I didn't like, or I guess not that I didn't like, because obviously I liked some of these episodes, but knew weren't my favorite and watched all of them. Or I guess if I'm being honest, I watched like 20 of them, like 18, 20 of them, and I could tell from some of them that they weren't even going to be on this list, so I just went with the ones that I knew really pissed me off. Welcome to the Tombs, obviously I knew wasn't going to be on here. I'm still really frustrated about Andrea, but the episode was still good, and so, yeah, obviously I didn't have that on this list. The Cell, though, I mean, why? Like, seriously, why? I think it's probably Easy Street and the overall purpose of this that was just, it was depressing and sad, and I felt no motivation watching this episode. Instead of focusing on the sanctuary, Negan's plans for the group and so forth, the overall like structure of the sanctuary and stuff like that, maybe doing a little bit more of what they did with Andrea at Woodbury. I understand there are different circumstances, but they just really focused on breaking Daryl. And we just focused on breaking a lot of our characters a few episodes ago, or in the season 7 premiere, 2 episodes ago. I mean, this is the 3rd episode of the season after meeting a new villain, and this is the first thing they choose to focus on. I think more could have happened here. I know a lot did happen with Sing Me a Song. I think that's episode 7 of season 7, an episode I actually did really like, by the way. But more should have been done earlier. There should have been way more setup here, and I think this episode overall, it was depressing, and the issue is that it really was like a standalone episode. And what I mean by that is that everyone was split up. Like, this was something that really happened. It was a very common thing to happen in season 7 and 8. Everyone was split up all the time. It didn't feel like our characters were a group anymore. And it just made me feel extremely depressed, which is something I think you wouldn't want your viewers to feel, especially after the horrific death of season 7's premiere. And this episode was the start of that depressing tone that lasted for the next 2 seasons.
Number 7.
Say Yes is one of those episodes that just frustrates the shit out of you because it's just an episode all about frustration. If it wasn't for Rick and Michonne and that aspect to the episode, I think this would be way higher on the list, to be honest. The scavengers need more guns, and so they're forcing them to go get some. But then at the end, they need more guns? Like, what? Are we really actually doing this with The Walking Dead right now, just going out to find guns? Why the hell do we have to focus on finding guns so much right now? Like, why was this even written here? It's so frustrating. On top of that, we had Tara, who doesn't even tell them about Oceanside. Like, seriously, why did this episode even air?
Number 6.
So still, I mean, obviously this was going to be on the list. It's not number 1, though. I know a lot of people wanted me to put this at number 1, but when you compare it to my actual number 1, I mean, first, obviously there are worse episodes. I didn't actually mind the Daryl and Beth getting closer part of the episode. I really didn't. What bothered me a lot about the episode was, I guess, just Beth in general and the constant whining about a lot of things, especially when you compare it to other characters and what they literally just went through. I think this is actually the first episode in the series, or I guess this is the start anyways, of random episodes of just focusing on a character or two. And pairing Daryl and Beth together, sure, it obviously could be fine. But when you have more pressing matters, when you have to get to other storylines, it was just so pointless. Especially since nothing really happened between the two characters. Nothing romantic really happened in the future. The cliffhanger was kind of exciting, sure, but as we know, it didn't actually go anywhere. The episode is literally about drunk people fighting and whining, which sure maybe could be fun, but no, it was just more whining than anything.
Number 5.
This episode, man, I mean, wow. Another episode, along with a few others in season 7 that were I just don't understand, like, why were they written? And I promise, I really tried to steer clear of season 7 and 8 with this list. I knew I was going to have to get into it, but I really tried. Like, I focused on the entire series, and it's just impossible to ignore these seasons. There were some really bad episodes. This episode focused on Eugene at the sanctuary, and I guess him realizing that he can survive there pretty easily. I mean, this episode was just so confusing, because on one hand, you have Eugene who now you just have to hate, and I should point that out, this is the episode that just butchered that character, because you actually felt really bad for him when he got kidnapped a few episodes earlier, but now who gives a shit? I mean, he's all, I'm Negan, like, what? I'm glad the character bounced back from that, because he was very close to being irredeemable, but Angela Kang, obviously, she's amazing, and she's used him in clever ways, but with this episode, it was just, first of all, incredibly boring, and then when it ends, you're enraged.
Number 4.
I'm going to keep this one short because this doesn't really need too much explaining. SLABTOwn, Beth at a hospital, discovering a group that actually didn't really serve a purpose at all and was kind of, I don't even know what the hell happened there. The hospital thing, I blinked and it was done. Especially after episode 3, Four Walls and a Roof, which was one of my favorites ever. This was a massive nosedive.
Number 3.
This is the episode that really frustrated me when it came to anything regarding Tara. It was just stupid. She wanted to kill Dwight, but decides not to do it in the end. But in general, is just a hypocrite. It was like the writers forgot who Tara was and her entire backstory. The story with her was just draining emotionally. I mean, overall, the episode was it was filler. I would say this was filler because it's just them traveling to the hilltop. We didn't need to see this at all. This is actually why I'm very thankful for Angela Kang and the way she tells stories right now, because she just rushes through this stuff now. Like we get the point with it. If you want a multi-community storyline or story, I guess, at this point in the series, you can't focus on stuff like that. And back then the show did. And I mean, literally an episode would be about them traveling to just some community. And yeah, with the Tara aspect here, this was just torture to watch.
Number 2.
I really don't mean to pick on Tara. I really, really don't. I actually don't hate the character at all. She frustrates the hell out of me, or I guess did anyways, because in season 9, I actually liked her story arc, but in season 7 and 8, obviously different story, and yeah, we once again get another extremely, just literally the most filler episode ever. Well, probably not. I'm exaggerating there a little bit, but this episode was just boring. I mean, when I rewatched it, it was so hard to. It was so hard to watch it. I just didn't care. It was like watching a Fear the Walking Dead episode, to be honest. It was just like, I just want to shut this off. Because if you think about it, the season premiere was extremely depressing. You know, Glenn and Abe die, and then the next episode is Kingdom Focus, which was kind of like, kind of cool, because obviously you see Shiva and stuff like that. The Cell, obviously, it was on this list. Episode 4 was a little bit better because it was kind of cool seeing Rick and Negan back together. But then we get 5, and then, yeah, you get to this point, and it's like, really? We're getting a Tara standalone episode? It was just so dumb because Heath goes missing and there's like no answers after that. Nothing connects to later on in the season or in the next season or in the next season or even in season 10. There are still no answers to what happened to Heath. Obviously, we know where he is. Like, I know, but that was announced just behind the scenes. Like, Gimple said something about he was taken by the scavengers and all of that, but that didn't actually happen on the show. So when you just consider that context, this was just so random. And on top of that, we get a community that did not need to be introduced at this point, because they didn't do anything during the war. Looking back at Oceanside, what the hell have they really done? Maybe they've done some stuff in season 9, sure, a little bit, but they could have written it differently in season 8 and even in 7, and that other communities like the Kingdom or what have you did what Oceanside did. I mean, it's just, there was no point. They should have been introduced like they were in the comic after All Out War. We already just met the Kingdom. The Hilltop, like a couple episodes, or it was a couple episodes before that anyways. I'm pretty sure it was like episode 14, 12, 15 of season 6, so somewhere around there. But we just ran into them and we just met the Sanctuary and the Saviors, right? So why introduce a fourth community? This episode, along with countless of others in season 7, is just why I can't watch this season.
Number 1.
So yeah, this one here is my number 1. I think this was pretty obvious because of the Morales thing. It was actually pretty exciting at the end of episode 2 when Morales was there. I kept thinking, whoa, why are you bringing him back? Like, you wouldn't just bring him back for nothing. Surely if you're going to bring Morales back, a character from season 1, and go through how ridiculous it would be for him to be all the way over here with these characters, you would actually have a purpose. But no, just like that, Daryl shoots him in the back of the head, done. That's just so insane to think about. Like, that is how Morales dies. It's just, when you rewatch The Walking Dead now, it's so laughable. When you watch season 1 and you see Morales there and he's talking with Rick, and what the hell did he call him? It was like, not Pony Boy. Officer Friendly. I kept thinking Police Officer Boy or Police Boy, but that made no sense. Officer Friendly or whatever. I'm pretty sure that's what he called him. You go from there, and that character potentially maybe living a safe life. He leaves with his family, and you start thinking, well, what happened to Morales? Did he ever make it out? Did his family ever maybe find a happy ending, or what happened to that character? No, they bring him back out of nowhere. His whole family's dead. He's here. He's a savior. But hold on, maybe they can actually do something interesting here where he's a savior, but he turns good, kind of like Dwight, but maybe they can actually change it a little bit here or do something interesting there. No, nothing. Daryl shoots him in the back of the head. That's it for Morales. Combine that with all the dumb action throughout this episode, Tara and Jesus and all that prisoner stuff, which I don't know why Tara's like constantly being mentioned on this list, but yeah, she's a part of a lot of frustrating storylines, to be honest, or frustrating moments, I should say anyways. Oh, I can't get over this episode. You watch this episode and it's just all kinds of stupid. But these are my top 10 worst episodes of The Walking Dead. What are your top 10? Is it close to mine? Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and thanks for watching.